The NFL playoffs are finally here, and we have so many great matchups this weekend. But kicking off the Saturday slate is the Seattle Seahawks traveling to San Francisco to play against the 49ers at 4:30 p.m. But before we hop into the content of today's video, if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and drop a like on the video if you guys do enjoy it. I'm going to be previewing all of the playoff games this weekend, so if you're interested in any other game, be on the lookout for those videos. With all that being said, let's hop into the video about the Seattle Seahawks and the 49ers facing off on Wildcard weekend. The division rivals will be going at it for a third time this season, and it's pretty spectacular that the Seahawks actually made the playoffs. They needed a win, and they needed the Lions to beat the Packers, which felt pretty unlikely heading into Sunday, but the Lions absolutely shocked the world, beating the Packers, getting the Seahawks into the playoffs. But now they have a tough task against what I see as probably the best team in the NFC. The first time these two teams played was week number 3. The 49ers controlled the game throughout, winning 27-7. Of course, in that first game, things looked completely different. Jimmy G was getting his first official start of the year, but the 49ers defense still stepped up, shut down Geno Smith in that offense, and they took care of business in the first meeting between the two teams. And then less than a month ago, these two teams faced off in Seattle for the second matchup on Thursday Night Football, and it was a pretty similar game to what we saw in the first matchup. The 49ers controlled the game, their defense shut down the Seahawks basically throughout the game, and the 49ers offense did just enough to secure the win. Brock Purdy had a pretty fantastic game against the Seahawks, throwing for 217 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game. George Kittle went off for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns, and the 49ers clinched the division title that game. And this Saturday, I don't really see a whole lot changing with the matchup between these two teams. It's been pretty one-sided throughout the two matches, and now we have a third one at home for the 49ers, who are currently on a 10-game winning streak, while the Seahawks ended the year 2-3 in their last 5 games. I made a video a few days ago talking about the 49ers and how amazing their roster is along with their coaching staff. And when I look at Seattle, they have a very young team with a lot of young talent. But when you get to the playoffs, that stage kind of changes, and it's not the same football that you're playing in the regular season. I think the attention to detail and playoff experience matters, and I think regarding those two elements, the 49ers have a huge advantage over the Seahawks. The spread for this game is currently -10 for the 49ers, and I think that's about right. I think the 49ers will win by 2 possessions. I really think the only path for victory for the Seahawks is if they can force Brock Purdy into some turnovers. He's a 7th-round rookie, he has no playoff experience. So if he becomes overwhelmed in his first playoff game and makes some crucial mistakes, gives the Seahawks some extra opportunities to score off the turnovers, I think they can make it a ball game. But when you just look at the talent of the two teams and you see the 49ers' defense matched up against the Seahawks offense, it's going to be very tough for them to do anything on that side of the ball. I do like the weapons that the Seahawks have. Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and Kenneth Walker. I think that's a very nice trio of weapons that you have. And while mentioning the Seahawks' weapons and their offense, I think it's important to talk about Geno Smith and what he's been able to do this season. This was his 9th year in the NFL, and I don't think anybody saw this coming from Geno. I think most people saw him as a backup or fringe starter who could possibly start on one of the worst teams in the league. But nobody saw this, and I think it's a fantastic storyline that he's able to bring this team to the playoffs. I mean, before this year, his career high in passing touchdowns came back in 2014 with 13, and he also had 13 interceptions to pair along with that. And then to go all the way to this year, throwing for 4,200 yards, 30 touchdowns, and only 11 interceptions. It's just tremendous to see a guy come in his 9th season in the NFL and do something that nobody saw happening whatsoever. I was even somebody that didn't even think he was going to start this year for Seattle. I thought once they traded Russell Wilson and got Drew Lock in exchange for him, he was going to take over for the Seahawks. I thought they were almost going to rebuild this year, be one of the worst teams in the league, pick top 5, and then draft their new quarterback. But that cannot be further from the truth with what's happened this year. I think Geno Smith has at least earned another year to start for the Seahawks. They do have a top 5 pick from the Broncos, so they technically could take one of the top 3 quarterbacks. I assume one of them will fall, whether that's Stroud, Levis, or Bryce Young. We won't know until April, but I believe one of those quarterbacks will be there if the Seahawks want to get a young quarterback to kind of groom under Geno Smith. But with his success this year, I do not see Seattle going in that direction. I think they'll probably punt on a quarterback until 2024, or maybe they ride out Geno for multiple years. So that's one thing that I think is really cool about the Seahawks making the playoffs. It's just Geno Smith's story, getting the Seattle Seahawks there. Everybody counted them out. I think on top of just Geno Smith, the quarterback storyline in this game is just fascinating. Brock Purdy, the 7th-round rookie, the last pick in the draft, comes in. The 3rd-string quarterback for the 49ers, Trey Lance, goes down in week number 2. Jimmy Garoppolo goes down mid-season. You throw in this rookie, and this team is undefeated with him playing in the regular season. Now he has a chance to lead a fantastic roster all the way to the Super Bowl. I just find it really interesting that both these quarterbacks have pretty cool storylines heading into the game. But what we saw in the first two matchups between them is Seattle really struggled to score in the red zone. The Seahawks did sustain some drives in those matchups, but when they got inside the 20, the field shrinks and the 49ers were able to keep them out of the end zone. That was really the difference in both the ball games. The Seahawks have also given up the third most rushing yards for any team this season, and we know exactly what the 49ers' offense specializes in. It's pounding the ball, opening up the play action for the quarterback. And I think we're going to see that all day long on Saturday. I think CMC will have a big day. Elijah Mitchell is back and healthy. He will get some action. And I think they'll continue to do what they've done since Brock Purdy's entered the game, pound the ground and then make his job a whole lot easier. Deebo Samuel is back. He did play week 18 just to get his legs under him for the playoffs. He caught 2 passes for 20 yards. And I think we'll see his role in that offense jump back up to what we're used to seeing. I don't think they wanted to put too much on his plate coming off that knee injury, but I think all the weapons the 49ers have will be a little bit too much for that young Seahawks defense. But my best guess is this game goes exactly how the past two have gone. The 49ers control the clock. They run the ball. They open up play action for Brock Purdy, and their defense limits the Seahawks in the red zone, forcing them to kick field goals. And in the end, the 49ers will win pretty commandingly. The number one thing that the Seahawks cannot do if they want to be competitive in this game is turn the ball over. If Geno Smith starts to get rattled and he turns the ball over on the road against the 49ers, who are a powerhouse, things could get away from them very quickly. But I think Seattle knows that. I think they're going to try to have a balanced attack with Kenneth Walker, and I think they'll be competitive in this game, but in the end, the talent level is just a little bit too much for them to overcome, and I see the 49ers winning by 2 possessions and moving on to the divisional round. These teams are just in completely different stages of what they're supposed to be this season. The 49ers are legit Super Bowl contenders and almost Super Bowl favorites, and the Seahawks were supposed to be rebuilding this year, and they overachieved by a long shot. So I don't think there's any shame in the Seahawks not being able to win this game or even be able to keep it within 1 score. They're not even supposed to be here. They're supposed to have a top 5 pick. They're supposed to be rebuilding this year, retooling and getting ready for the future. So the fact that they have all these young players, they have a ton of draft capital for the future, and a ton of cap space to use, it says a lot about the Seahawks' future and what's to come for this team down the road. But I just do not think they're ready to seize the moment away from the 49ers, who are primed to make a Super Bowl run this year. If they play their cards right, use their capital correctly, this team will definitely be a force for years to come. But I just see their chances of winning very slim on Saturday unless something crazy happens. But let me know what you think of this game and who you have winning. I'm sure about 95% of people, if you are not a Seahawks fan, have the 49ers winning this game. But let me know if you think the Seahawks have a chance, and if they do, your reasoning behind it. But thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and drop a like on the video if you guys did enjoy it. And be on the lookout for my other playoff previews. They'll be dropping very shortly. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.